Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to Sport This Week. This week I've got basketball, tennis, rugby, cricket, football, NFL, Formula 1, boxing, and UFC news. If you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, starting off this week, I'm going to start off with the basketball news. Clippers lost 116 to 93 versus Knicks. 76ers won 121 to 100 versus Bulls. Heat won 123 to 106 versus Rockets. Lakers lost 117 to 110 versus Spurs. Clippers lost 112 to 97 versus Warriors. Bulls won 114 to 108 versus Pistons. Celtics won 115 to 101 versus Hornets. Heat lost 111 to 90 versus Suns. Lakers lost 139 to 130 versus Rockets. Clippers won 115 to 109 versus Wizards. 76ers lost 129 to 100 versus Nets. Celtics won 114 to 103 versus Pistons. Clippers lost 112 to 106 versus Hawks. Heat won 117 to 105 versus Cavaliers. Lakers won 122 to 109 versus Wizards. Bulls won 101 to 91 versus Cavaliers. Heat lost 113 to 104 versus Timberwolves. Clippers won 106 to 102 versus Pistons. Celtics lost 95 to 92 versus Mavericks. And 76ers won 116 to 104 versus Magic. And yeah, that is all the basketball news. Moving on to the tennis news, where it was the continuation of the Indian Wells tournament. Osaka won 2-1 versus Stevens. Zverev and Golubev won 2-0 versus Evans and Kachanov. Tsitsipas and Lopez won 2-0 versus Klaasen and McLaughlin. Sabalenka lost 2-1 versus Paulini. Medvedev won 2-0 versus Machak. Nadal won 2-1 versus Korda. Tsitsipas won 2-1 versus Sok. And Osaka lost 2-0 versus Kudermetova. And yeah, that is all the tennis news. Moving on to the rugby news now. France won 13-9 versus Wales. Scotland won 33-22 versus Italy. And Ireland won 32-15 versus England. Moving on to the cricket news now. The England versus West Indies test ended in a draw. So obviously not the best for either side, but it will be interesting to see if we can get some sort of a win for either team next test game. Football news next, and Forest won 2-1 versus Huddersfield. Spurs won 5-0 versus Everton. There will be a Ukraine and Russian only transfer market happening on the 7th of April and ending on the 30th of June. I'm not going to get into much into why that's happening, but I mean, if you've been living under a rock, then I mean, you must be living under a rock if you don't know why it's happening. But I mean, I suppose it's good for them players. Bayern won 7-1 versus Salzburg. Inter won 1-0 versus Liverpool. Lyon won 1-0 versus Porto. Frankfurt won 2-1 versus Betis. Man City drew 0-0 versus Sporting. Real Madrid won 3-1 versus PSG. Sevilla won 1-0 versus West Ham. Chelsea won 3-1 versus Norwich. Wolves won 4-0 versus Watford. Newcastle won 2-1 versus Southampton. Villa won 3-0 versus Leeds. Barcelona drew 0-0 versus Galatasaray. Atalanta won 3-2 versus Leverkusen. Rangers won 3-0 versus Red Star. Braga won 2-0 versus Monaco. PSV drew 4-4 versus Copenhagen. Leicester won 2-0 versus Rennes. Roma won 1-0 versus Vitesse. Feyenoord won 5-2 versus Partizan. Marseille won 2-1 versus Basel. Slavia Prague won 4-1 versus Lask. Bodo Glimt won 2-1 versus AZ Alkmaar. PAOK won 1-0 versus Genk. Matip won Player of the Month. Zaha won Goal of the Month. Howe won Manager of the Month. Liverpool won 2-0 versus Brighton. Bayern drew 1-1 versus Hoffenheim. Brentford won 2-0 versus Burnley. Man United won 3-2 versus Spurs. Jozwiak has signed for Charlotte. Abramovich has been sanctioned by the UK government, which, I mean, yes, again, I'm not going to go into too much why, but it is really bad for Chelsea as all their cards get declined. Because they've all been blocked. But Chelsea did end up winning 1-0 versus Newcastle, so I suppose that's a positive. Leeds won 2-1 versus Norwich. Wolves won 1-0 versus Everton. West Ham won 2-1 versus Villa. Watford won 2-1 versus Southampton. Cologne won 1-0 versus Leverkusen. Betis won 1-0 versus Bilbao. Rennes won 4-2 versus Lyon. Leipzig won 6-1 versus Firth. And Arsenal won 2-0 versus Leicester. And yeah, that is all the football news. Moving on to the F1 news next. The Imola Grand Prix will remain on the calendar until 2025. And Magnussen will drive for Haas in 2022, which is a big surprising bit of news. When Mazepin left, nobody was really sure who would come in, and Magnussen is making a shocking return. Will be interesting to see how he does. Moving on to the NFL news now. Chargers extending Mike Williams. Commanders trading for Carson Wentz. Titans extending Harold Landry. Buccaneers franchise tag Chris Godwin. Packers franchise tag Devontae Adams. Broncos trading for Russell Wilson. Cowboys franchise tag Dalton Schultz. Dolphins franchise tag Mike Gesicki. Bengals franchise tag Jesse Bates. Browns franchise tag David Ngakoue. Seahawks releasing Bobby Wagner, which is a big bit of news for Seahawks fans. Chargers trading for Khalil Mack. Raiders extending Max Crosby. Browns trading for Amari Cooper. Cardinals signing Zach Ertz. Brady is unretiring, which, I mean, a lot of people did say that would happen. But interesting to see how long he lasts until I'd imagine he'll end up retiring again. It might be 1 season, it might be 2 seasons, it could be maybe 5 if he's really fancying it. I mean, I doubt that, but we'll have to see. Vikings signing Kirk Cousins and Cowboys signing Michael Gallup. And yeah, that is all the NFL news. Moving on to the UFC news now. Khabib has been induced into the Hall of Fame, which is rightly deserved for him. Chandler versus Ferguson will be on the 7th of May. Yadong won via KO in round 1 versus Moraes. Ankalaev won via decision versus Santos. And Font versus Vera will be on the 30th of April. And yeah, that is all the UFC news. Moving on to the final sport, which is boxing news now. Ben versus Van Herden will be on the 16th of April. And Wood won via KO in round 12 versus Conlan to remain WBA World Featherweight Champion. Which, I mean, if you've seen the knockout, it was a crazy knockout. I'm glad Conlan is alright. But yeah, I mean, to knock him literally out of the ring is mental. But yeah, that is it for today's video though. Hope you have enjoyed. Like the video if you didn't like the video, subscribe if you are new, and thanks for watching.